CreepyCorner stories.
Hey folks, welcome back to CreepyCorner Stories. Tonight's episode is different from anything I've done before. This is something new. And before we dive in, let me know what you think about this new style of videos. I'm genuinely curious. And most importantly, a huge thank you to Lisa Collin, 85, and Dark Impulse for supporting the channel. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and join my channel. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy. I ordered a Secret Santa gift from the dark web. It was a device and explanation why Santa never ages. Yo, what's up guys? I know this sounds like one of those dumb r/dark web stories you hear on YouTube while scrolling at 3 a.m., but I swear on everything, this actually happened. I've never posted anything on Reddit before, but after what went down last December, I need to get this off my chest. I haven't been the same since, and if I don't write it down, I feel like it's gonna eat me alive. So yeah, let me take you back. It was December 14th, 2024. I remember the date because I had just gotten back from a Target run. Nothing special, just grabbing a last-minute pair of fuzzy socks and some candy canes for my office's Secret Santa thing. You know how those go. Mostly gag gifts and overpriced Starbucks cards. Anyway, later that night, I was scrolling TikTok in bed and came across a video with that typical robotic text-to-speech voice that was like, POV, you ordered a gift from the dark web Secret Santa challenge, and this arrived. And it showed this dude unboxing this creepy-ass looking doll with a note in perfect cursive that said, deliver him before midnight or you'll take his place. It was corny, but something about the vibe of the video stuck with me. The comments were blowing up too, like, yo, this gotta be AI generated. I did this challenge in 2022, shirts real. You'll know if your package is wet. And that last comment, if your package is wet, that gave me chills. But I'm the type of person who's way too curious for my own good. So I did the thing. How I got into this, okay. So here's where I start being real with you. I used to mess around with the deep web in college. Not for anything illegal, mostly out of curiosity. Tor browser, Bitcoin wallets, onion links, all that. So I was like, yo, let me see if anyone actually does this Secret Santa thing. After a little digging and a whole lot of paranoia, seriously, I taped my webcam and disabled every background process. I landed on this old forum called NoelNet. It looked like one of those 90s sites that never updated. All red and green HTML, snowflakes falling in the background, super janky code, no login, no tracker, just a page that said, join the Eternal Exchange, submit your address and a gift will arrive. Open it when the snow stops falling. Happy holidays. And then it had this long list of P.O. boxes and first names with random coordinates next to them, like Holly, 40.689, 2 degrees north, 74.0445 degrees west. That's the Statue of Liberty. Nicholas, 60.1699 degrees north, 60.1699 degrees north. That's the Statue of Liberty. 24 degrees, 93 minutes, 84 seconds east. Helsinki. Crispin, 34 degrees, 5 minutes, 22 seconds north, 118 degrees, 24 minutes, 37 seconds west. Downtown LA. Creepy, right? But right at the bottom, there was a button. A green one. It just said, be chosen. So yeah, I clicked it. The arrival. 2 days later, I kid you not, a box showed up at my doorstep. No label, no return address, no branding, just this dusty brown cardboard box with one thing stamped on the top in blood red ink, for naughty only. And guess what? It was damp, like slightly soggy on one side, not rain-soaked, not leaking, just moist. I stared at it for like 5 minutes before I brought it inside, like it might start vibrating or whispering if I touched it. It didn't. But my cat, Pickles, wouldn't go near it. He just sat across the room, tail twitching, eyes locked on that thing like it owed him money. He's never done that before. Ever. Now I know any normal person would toss that thing in the trash and maybe call the cops. But I'm a dumbass with way too much time and no impulse control. So, yeah, I opened it, inside the box. When I sliced through the tape, which was sealed with this thick, waxy red stuff that smelled like cinnamon and rust, the first thing I noticed was the smell. Not just the usual cardboard must smell. It was sweet and foul, like peppermint mixed with something rotten. Inside was this, a small black device, kinda like an old Game Boy, but thinner. Smooth metal, no branding, one single red blinking button in the middle, a folded parchment with red ink writing. Like legit, it looked like it was written with a feather pen or some crap. A red and white Santa hat, but it was stiff and crusty. I'm pretty sure it was stained. I unfolded the note. Here's what it said, word for word. Every year, the body ages, but the road does not. Time is a toll for the living, not for him. Your gift is a peek behind the beard. Press the button at 11:59 p.m. on Christmas Eve. Wear the hat. Watch the truth. Keep the knowledge. Or share the curse. And I know this sounds made up, like something out of a B horror movie. But the handwriting, the feel of the paper, even the way the words were spaced, it felt ancient, like something I wasn't supposed to be reading. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat on my couch, the box still open, staring at the device. Every now and then, it would blink, slow, then fast, then slow again, like a heartbeat. The first sign. For the next few days, weird stuff started happening. My iPhone kept glitching whenever I walked near the box. Screen fuzz, camera freezing, Siri randomly popping up and saying, "I didn't catch that." I tried to post about it on Twitter. The post vanished mid-upload, twice, and then my account got locked for suspicious activity. I got a friend to take a pic of the box when they visited. The camera app wouldn't open unless the box was out of frame. And then, the dreams. God, the dreams. They started 3 nights before Christmas. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, gasping like I'd been underwater. The only thing I could remember was a face, pale, eyes sunken black, mouth stitched shut, wearing a Santa hat. Not jolly, not laughing, watching, just watching. I haven't even told you what happened on Christmas Eve yet. That's when everything went sideways. I'm posting this now because I don't know who else I can tell. My phone keeps ringing with blocked numbers. I haven't seen Pickles since the 24th. You're in the sleigh now. It started bleeding. The device, I mean. December 24th, 11:53 p.m. I was sitting on the edge of my bed, the Santa hat in my lap, the room dead silent, except for the buzzing of that cursed red light blinking from the black device. My phone was face down. I'd unplugged my Echo and covered every camera in the apartment with electrical tape and paper towels. Not because I thought it would help, but because I didn't want anyone to see what was about to happen. I hadn't seen Pickles in 3 days. My cat. I found little bloody paw prints leading to the crawl space under the stairs, but no smell. Nothing else. Just gone. That night was cold, but inside my apartment, it felt wrong. Not cold like the air conditioning, cold like a void, like the heat was being sucked out from the seams of the walls. My breath clouded the air and hung there too long, like it was watching me back. And then it happened. The device let out a shrill, tinny chime that sounded like a jingle bell, except reversed, if that makes sense. Like a happy sound turned inside out, distorted, mechanical, full of static and pain. The red light turned green. 11:59. I pressed the button, and the world stopped. I swear on everything I love, time didn't slow. It stopped. My fan froze mid-spin. The blinking cursor on my MacBook screen just hung there. Even the city outside was silent. No honking, no sirens, no dogs barking, nothing. And then my phone, which was powered off, buzzed. Just once. I looked at the screen. Incoming airdrop request. Sleigh Bell 1 wants to share one item. File. You are in the sleigh now. Move. The hat in my lap grew warm, then wet. I touched it, and my fingers came back red. I thought maybe it was fake, a prank, maybe some chemical reaction from moisture, or dye, whatever. But then the hat twitched, like something inside it was trying to move. I threw it across the room. It landed in the corner, flopped over like roadkill, and began convulsing. Little jerks at first, then full-on writhing. It twisted and jerked like something trying to claw out of skin too tight. And then it stood up. Not floated. Stood. The fabric snapped into a rigid form, like a puppet yanked by invisible strings. And then it walked. That hat, crusted with something ancient and wet, walked across the floor toward the box. Click, 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 like hooves on linoleum. The device beeped, and the room cracked. I'm not saying the walls shattered or exploded. I mean the air itself cracked, like glass, like a mirror splitting behind my eyes. Reality tore a seam straight down the middle and folded back like wrapping paper. 1 second, I was in my room. The next, I was on a floor that looked like frosted glass, with people underneath it, screaming. They weren't just people. They were children. Lifeless eyes. Their bodies twisted in weird, impossible shapes, like candy canes bent in anger. Some were missing parts, not bloodily, just gone, like the part was erased. Others pounded on the underside of the ice, mouths open wide in silent screams. One boy looked straight at me. His eyes were replaced by 2 black buttons. His teeth were sharpened down to points like he'd been gnawing on metal. He mouthed something. "Don't let him see you." Then the sleigh arrived. Not a sleigh like on greeting cards. This thing was alive. A horrible, mechanical flesh hybrid dragging itself across the glass floor, pulled by things wearing reindeer skins, but not reindeer. The legs were wrong. The necks were broken backwards and still moving. One of them had human hands, where its hooves should be, gripping the ice, pulling. The sleigh creaked to a stop in front of me, and out stepped Santa. Not the Coca-Cola version. This one was tall, too tall, gaunt. His suit hung off him like a costume thrown on a corpse. The beard was thin and matted, stained brown at the ends. His mouth didn't move when he spoke, but I heard it, in my spine. "You opened the box." He looked ancient, like someone wearing the concept of Santa, like a skin he'd long outgrown. His eyes were mirrors, not shiny, reflective, and in them I saw myself, standing with that hat on my head, soaked in red. He didn't wait. He reached out with one impossibly long arm and shoved the device against my chest. It sank into me, like it melted through my shirt, my skin, into my ribcage. I screamed. I felt something rewriting my bones, replacing marrow with frost, filling my chest with sleigh bells and static. And then he whispered, "That's how I stay young." I woke up on my floor, gasping like I'd been drowning. It was 3:33 a.m., Christmas morning. The box was gone. So was the hat. But the device was embedded in my chest, not sticking out. I mean, I could feel it, beating like a second heart. Every few hours, I hear it chime. Soft, distorted bells that only I can hear. My reflection in the bathroom mirror doesn't match my movements anymore. I noticed it 2 days ago. I turned left. It turned late. And then the news started hitting. Reports of children missing across cities. Stockholm. 6 kids vanished from foster home. Queens, NYC. Entire classroom absent. No memory of their existence. A Starbucks in Tokyo. Security cam footage shows a child walking in. No footage of them leaving. Just a red hat left behind. No one mentioned Santa. No one connects the dots. But I know. I know the sleigh rides through time, and I've been marked, tagged, initiated. Every night since then, I've been receiving pictures on my phone, always from different numbers. No sender, just images, grainy stills, of kids, sleeping, in their rooms, taken from above, like someone hovering. Each picture is labeled candidate. And the latest one, it was me, at age 7, in my old room, smiling, with him standing over me. I'm not sure what part 3 will be. I haven't slept. I don't think I can. Every time I blink, I hear hoofbeats on the ceiling, even though I live on the top floor. I saw an ad on Instagram for timeless toys for naughty boys. The logo was the same seal that was on the box. My feed is full of snow, blood red snow. I don't think I was chosen to receive a gift. I think I was chosen to become one. Tell me I'm not alone. Tell me someone else clicked be chosen. Because I think the sleigh's coming back. And this time, it's not stopping. Inventory night. Sleep stopped being something my body remembered how to do. Not insomnia. Something worse. Every time I closed my eyes, I didn't rest. I reported, like a machine going idle, but still running diagnostics in the background. My thoughts weren't mine anymore. They were being counted, sorted, filed. I'd blink and feel that second heartbeat in my chest, click once, sharp and metallic, like a tally mark carved into bone. The chime didn't ring randomly anymore. It rang on a schedule. 2:17 a.m., 4:44 a.m., 6:06 a.m. Always 3 notes, always wrong. I tried to ignore it. I tried to live normal. That was my first mistake. I went outside. Big mistake. The world looked normal in the way a movie set looks normal. Convincing until you stare too long. I walked to the McDonald's down the block because it was open 24/7 and I needed noise. Fluorescent lights. People. Something that wasn't bells and frost. Inside, everything smelled like old oil and sugar. A group of teenagers laughed too loud in the corner. A tired woman scrolled her phone while her kid kicked the booth. Normal. Comforting. Then the kid looked at me. He stopped moving, stopped blinking. His eyes tracked me across the restaurant, like I was the only thing left in the room. Slowly, deliberately, he lifted his Happy Meal box and turned it around. Someone had carved a symbol into the cardboard. A circle, 3 tally marks, a hook, the same seal that was burned into the bottom of the box. My chest chimed. The kid smiled, not happy, not playful, like his face was remembering how to do it from muscle memory alone. He leaned toward his mom and whispered something I couldn't hear. She froze. Then she stood up, left her purse, left her phone, left everything, and walked straight out the door like she'd been called by name. The kid followed. No one else noticed. The teenagers kept laughing. The cashier kept wiping the counter. I threw up in the bathroom and didn't eat for 2 days after that. That night, the device activated. No visions, no sleigh, no Santa, just instructions. My phone unlocked itself while I was staring at the wall, screen glowing soft green. A new app appeared on the home screen. No icon, just text. Inventory. I didn't download it. I didn't tap it. It opened anyway. A list filled the screen. Names, ages, coordinates, timestamps, not predictions, logs. Every entry ended the same way. Status, received. I scrolled. I don't know why I scrolled. Curiosity? Masochism? Some part of me hoping to find a mistake. I found a familiar name. My childhood neighbor. My elementary school teacher. A kid who sat behind me in 3rd grade and used to eat glue. All marked received. And then the screen refreshed. A new entry appeared at the top. Status, pending role, observer, location, current me. That's when I realized the worst part. I wasn't being hunted. I was being trained. The dreams changed after that. No more ice floors. No more screaming underneath me. Now I was standing in places I recognized. Parking garages, school hallways, empty malls with Christmas music playing on loop. Watching things happen from angles no human should be able to stand in. Ceilings, corners, air vents. I saw the sleigh from far away this time. Saw how it phased into reality, bending streetlights and clouds around it, like gravity had opinions. I saw the reindeer things unhook themselves and move on their own, sniffing at doors, windows, fire escapes. And I saw how Santa didn't choose randomly. He followed patterns, lonely houses, homes where people stopped believing, apartments where no one would notice one less shadow. He wasn't punishing the naughty. He was harvesting the forgotten. I woke up one morning with blood under my fingernails. Not mine. I scrubbed my hands raw in the sink until my skin split, but the smell wouldn't leave. Cold metal. Pine. Something sweet underneath. I checked my phone. 3 new photos, taken from above. Different rooms, different cities. Each photo had a green outline around a person, like facial recognition. And in the corner of each image, confirmation required. I dropped the phone and screamed. The scream didn't sound human. It echoed wrong, flat, like it had been recorded somewhere else and played back through my throat. That's when the knocking started. Not on the door, on the inside of the walls. I tried to run, packed a bag, left my phone behind, took cash, took my passport, didn't look at the mirrors, didn't listen to the bells. I drove until my hands shook and my vision tunneled, and I ended up in a rest stop bathroom, somewhere I didn't recognize. The mirror there didn't reflect me at all, just the hat, hanging on the hook behind the door, dripping. The device chimed 3 times. My chest burned. The pain wasn't sharp anymore. It was directive, like my body knew what it needed to do and was angry I wasn't cooperating. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I don't remember putting it there. A single message appeared. Inventory night requires participation. Below it, a map pin dropped. A house. Not random. Familiar. It was my parents' old place. The one they sold after I moved out. The one no one lived in anymore. I don't remember driving there. I remember standing in the driveway, staring at the dark windows, the Christmas lights still hanging from the gutters, even though no one had plugged them in for years. They turned on anyway. Red, green, red, green. In the reflection of the glass, I saw someone standing behind me, tall, thin, wearing the wrong smile, and for the first time, he didn't speak. He waited. I'm writing this from the car. The engine's still running. My hands are shaking so bad the letters blur. The device is chiming non-stop now. Faster than a heartbeat. Faster than thought. I know what's inside that house. I know why it chose it. I think tonight is when I stop watching. I think tonight is when I confirm. And if you hear bells where you live, even just faint ones, don't look outside. Because once you see the sleigh, it means you were already counted. The workshop isn't a place. The house wasn't abandoned. That was the first lie my brain tried to cling to when I stepped inside. It looked empty, furniture gone, walls stripped, the kind of hollow echo you only get in places where people stop trying. But it wasn't abandoned. It was paused, like someone had pressed stop years ago and expected things to resume exactly where they left off. The door shut behind me without a sound, not slammed, not clicked, just sealed. The air inside was warmer than it should have been, thick with the smell of dust and old pine cleaner. My breath didn't fog anymore. The chiming in my chest slowed, settled into something like approval. The lights flickered on by themselves, room by room, leading me deeper like runway lights guiding a landing I never asked for. I didn't fight it. That's the part that scares me most now. I followed. The living room was empty except for a TV sitting on the floor, plugged in but showing static. The static wasn't random. It pulsed in patterns, almost rhythmic. When I stared too long, shapes formed. Faces, profiles, expressions stuck halfway between fear and understanding. Above the TV, someone had carved words directly into the wall. Not painted. Carved. This is where they learn. My chest chimed once. The hallway stretched farther than it should have. Doors on either side, all closed, all breathing faintly. Not air, not sound, just pressure changes, like lungs behind drywall. I passed the old bathroom. The mirror was gone. In its place, a framed photo of me, standing in this very hallway, taken from behind. I don't remember it being taken. I don't remember posing. At the end of the hall was the basement door. It was already open. Warm light spilled up the stairs, flickering like a fireplace. And underneath it, that smell again. Sweet, metallic, festive in the worst possible way. Like a bakery built on top of a hospital. Every step down felt rehearsed. Not by me, by my body. The basement wasn't a basement anymore. It was a space that didn't obey geometry. Bigger on the inside, corners folded away from each other, walls stretching and compressing like they were breathing. Conveyor belts ran along the floor, but they didn't carry objects. They carried moments, flickering snapshots of lives sliding past, looping, stuttering. I recognized places, a mall Santa booth, a school auditorium, a daycare nap room, a hospital pediatric wing. Each belt ended at a large archway made of something that looked like bone but hummed like machinery. Above each arch was a sign, hand-lettered in that same old ink. Naughty, forgotten, excess. There was no nice. That's when I understood. Santa doesn't reward. He optimizes. I wasn't alone. Figures moved in the space, tall, thin, wrapped in red fabric that wasn't cloth so much as concept. Their faces were smooth, unfinished, like mannequins left in the sun too long. Each one carried a clipboard, checking boxes as moments passed through the arches. One of them noticed me. It tilted its head the wrong way. The sound it made wasn't speech. It was paperwork, pages flipping, staples snapping. It pointed at me, then at the largest archway, the one at the far end. Above it, carved deeper than the rest, apprentice. My chest burned. Not pain, pride. The device inside me activated fully then. I felt my thoughts align, snap into order. Fear didn't vanish. It just stopped mattering. I could see the system now. The efficiency, the necessity, the way belief decays unless it's maintained through ritual and consequence. Santa never ages because Santa isn't one being. He's a process, a role passed down, refined, optimized, a supply chain. And I was standing in the onboarding room. They showed me what happens when belief dips too low. Cities where Christmas becomes aesthetic instead of faith. Places where Santa is a meme, a joke, a seasonal mascot slapped on Starbucks cups and Instagram ads. Those places rot. Not immediately, slowly. People grow hollow. Kids grow older, faster. Wonder evaporates, replaced by noise and scrolling and endless content that never satisfies. Santa prevents that by reminding the world that something is always watching, counting. I don't remember agreeing, but I remember signing, not with a pen, with my name carved into something soft and internal, something that screamed when it realized what was being promised. The hat appeared on my head without ceremony. It didn't twitch anymore. It fit perfectly. The tall one, the current Santa, stepped forward. Up close, he wasn't monstrous. He was tired, worn down to the idea of himself. His eyes met mine, and for the first time, I felt something like sympathy from him. "You'll do fine," he said, voice thin as wrapping paper. "You still remember fear." He placed a hand on my shoulder. It was light, final. When I came back to myself, I was standing in the driveway again, dawn creeping over the rooftops. The house behind me looked empty, normal. For sale sign crooked in the yard, like it had been there forever. My phone buzzed. Inventory updated. My status had changed. Role, assistant shift, active. I laughed. I couldn't stop laughing. People drove past on their way to Christmas mornings, coffee cups steaming, radios playing cheerful songs. One car slowed as it passed me. A kid in the back seat stared out the window. Our eyes met. He smiled, and I felt the chime answer back. It's not a warning, it's a handoff, because the current Santa is fading. I can feel it. The role is heavy, and belief is thinning faster every year. Someone new will need to step up soon. And if you're reading this, if you're still reading, that means you believe just enough. I'll tell you the rest next. If the inventory says you're allowed to hear it. Milk, cookies, and continuity. I stopped counting days after that. Time doesn't move forward anymore. It circulates. Like a mall on Christmas Eve, where the same song plays forever and no one notices it looping. Morning and night still happen, but they don't progress. They reset. I wake up knowing things I didn't know the night before, and forgetting things I wish I could keep. Names, faces, guilt. The chime in my chest smooths the edges off memories, like a thumb rubbing a coin blank. This is what succession feels like. Quiet, administrative, necessary. My first route was local, not because I wanted it to be, because the system prefers proximity, fewer variables, higher yield. The map appeared in my head without visuals, like instinct pretending to be intuition. I followed it on foot, wearing normal clothes, blending into the background noise of people rushing to nowhere. I passed a Starbucks, where the barista had taped a paper snowman to the tip jar. I passed a McDonald's with a flickering golden arch that buzzed like a dying insect. I passed apartment windows glowing blue with TVs, families laughing at jokes no one would remember by morning. None of them looked up. They never do. That's the trick. The first door opened before I knocked. Inside was a living room filled with decorations that had been up too long. Fake snow yellowed with age, tinsel shedding like dead skin. A tree in the corner still plugged in, lights blinking out of sync, spelling nothing. The child sat on the floor, assembling something from plastic pieces that didn't match the box. Concentrated, careful, belief still intact. I didn't touch them. I didn't have to. The air changed. Pressure dropped. The room leaned inward like it was listening. The child looked up, eyes widening just a little. Not fear, not yet. Recognition. Something deep and old, responding to a story they'd been told before they had language. Behind me, the sleigh arrived without sound. I stepped aside. The process completed itself. When it was done, the room reset. Decoration straightened. Lights aligned. The tree blinked normally again. Continuity preserved. Outside, a neighbor would later tell someone they thought they heard bells. They would laugh about it. That's when I understood the final rule. The world doesn't survive despite the horror. It survives because of it. Fear is maintenance. Ritual is infrastructure. And belief, real belief, requires consequence. You don't keep myths alive by being kind. You keep them alive by being consistent. Santa never ages because Santa is replaced, and replacement requires proof. The current one, my predecessor, doesn't visit me anymore. I feel him fading, thinning into legend. His presence used to be heavy, like a hand on the back of my neck. Now it's more like static on the edge of hearing. He did his job well. He held the line during malls and commercials and endless jokes. Now it's my turn. The hat feels lighter each night. That's how I know it's working. I still post here when I'm allowed. Not because I need help, because recruitment requires exposure. Some of you reading this feel it already. That crawling sensation under the skin, like you've been noticed. That's not paranoia. That's calibration. The system testing resonance, checking who still believes enough to matter. If you're angry at this story, disgusted, unable to stop reading, that's a good sign. If you're calm, bored, dismissive, you were never eligible. The inventory updates faster now. New routes, new regions, airports, highways, places where people pass through and disappear without friction. The sleigh doesn't need chimneys anymore. It hasn't for a long time. Doors are optional. Belief opens better paths. Every time a kid laughs at a Santa meme and still feels something twist in their chest, that's a thread. Every time an adult says, "It's just a story," a little too loudly, that's another. I follow the threads. I tie the knots. Here's the part no one ever tells you. It doesn't end with screams. It ends with quiet, with rooms that feel emptier but cleaner, with cities that keep functioning, with people who sense something missing and scroll faster to avoid it. The world keeps turning because the losses are precise, managed, optimized. No one takes more than they're supposed to. That's the deal. I'm writing this last part because the handoff is complete. I don't need to warn you anymore. I don't need to justify anything. The device in my chest doesn't chime now. It hums, steady, content, a metronome for the rest of my existence. I don't age the way I used to. Mirrors hesitate before showing me anything definitive. Photos blur. Memories of me soften at the edges for other people, like I was never meant to be permanent. That's the price of continuity. That's why Santa never ages. If you made it this far, do one thing for me. Tonight, before you sleep, listen. Not for bells, for absence, for the way a room feels when something that should be there isn't, for the tiny correction your brain makes when it doesn't want to think about why. If you feel it, congratulations, you still believe. And that means someday, when the role needs filling again, the sleigh already knows where you live. I ordered a Secret Santa gift from the dark web. The message said, "This is how he really travels." Okay, so I've never posted here before, but after what happened, I can't keep this to myself. I don't care if nobody believes me. I just need to get it out. And maybe someone else out there has gone through something similar. This all started about 2 weeks before Christmas. I live in Seattle, and I was visiting my cousin Leo in LA for the holidays. You know how it is. Starbucks runs, mall shopping, stupid elf on the shelf, crap everywhere. I was kinda bored of the usual gifts though. You can only get so many socks, candles, and ironic t-shirts before it all feels like filler. So one night, around 2 a.m., we're chilling in his room, watching horror story animations on YouTube. Those crazy channels like Here's My Story and Mr. Nightmare. You know the vibe. Creepy stuff that's based on a true story, but you never really know. We talk in trash, laughing, whatever, when Leo drops this idea. Bro, what if we did like Secret Santa, but dark web edition? At first I thought he was joking, but nope. He was dead serious. Said he'd found this gift exchange on a hidden subreddit that only pops up around Christmas. The thread was archived, sketchy as hell, like it was run by some anonymous group. All the comments were in weird languages, and the rules were vague. One item, one person, one message. Do not open until arrival. Participation requires no returns. This is how he really travels. Leo already ordered his by the time he showed me. I should have walked. But nah, I got curious. I mean, we're always hearing that the dark web is filled with hitmen, organs, cults, all that insanity. But a Secret Santa, that felt like a joke, like some ARG or viral marketing thing. So I bit. We used some crypto Leo had left over from a sketchy NFT drop, connected through Tor, followed a chain of links that felt like descending deeper and deeper into a pit. The UI was ancient, black background, red text, zero graphics, just a form. All it asked for was an address, a PO box was fine, and a single sentence, like a request or a theme, something personal. I typed, make it something that shows me the truth behind holiday traditions. I thought I was being clever, you know, like maybe I'd get a creepy Krampus mask, or a cursed elf doll, or some dumb stuff. I didn't expect anything. Honestly, I half thought nothing would come at all. 3 days later, something did. The box was waiting at the P.O. box in Studio City that Leo used for mail he didn't want his parents to see. Plain cardboard, no label, no return address, no stamps, just sitting there, like it had materialized. We brought it back to his room. He was hyped. I was nervous, not scared yet, just off. Inside was black tissue paper, super fine, the kind you see in expensive gift boxes, wrapped around what looked like a travel case. You know those old school leather shaving kits people used to bring on flights in the 50s, like something from Mad Men? It was worn and smelled like cinnamon and dust. weirdly nostalgic. There was also a folded piece of parchment tucked inside. Thick, burnt edges, old school calligraphy. It said, "This is how he really travels. Do not open until midnight." We stared at it for a while. It didn't make sense. Who he? Why midnight? And what did that even mean? Leo was already poking at the case, like some TikTok unboxing gremlin. I told him to wait. Let's just follow the rules, right? That night, we waited until exactly 11:59 p.m. We killed the lights, turned off our phones, sat in total silence. Just the buzz of the heater and a neighbor's dog barking somewhere in the distance. At midnight on the dot, we cracked it open, and that's when things shifted. The smell hit first. Not cinnamon anymore. It was like copper, rust, old pennies, and wet metal. The inside of the case was lined with red velvet, and nestled in the center was a long curved object wrapped in silk. Leo pulled it out, unwrapped it. It was a sled bell, like the ones you see on Santa's sleigh in cartoons. Brass, cold, heavy, but not shiny or polished. This one was tarnished, streaked, almost bloody looking. There were strange symbols scratched into the metal, not like any alphabet I've ever seen. Jagged, almost like they were carved with a claw. We just stared at it. Leo joked it looked like something from a horror movie, but neither of us laughed. The air in the room felt dense, like someone had turned the gravity up. Then the bell rang. Neither of us touched it. I swear, it rang on its own. Just one clear, echoing ding. We both froze, looked at each other. I checked my phone. It was 12:01 a.m. Then Leo's phone buzzed. He looked down. Face went pale. Showed it to me. The message was from a random number, no contact name, just digits. It said, "Thank you for accepting delivery. The journey begins now." I was done. I wanted to burn the thing, toss it out, forget it ever happened. But Leo, of course, thought it was hilarious. It's just a prank, some YouTuber trying to go viral. But that night, we heard something on the roof. Not footsteps, scraping, like metal skates on shingles. I didn't sleep, and the next day, Leo was gone. No note, no call. His phone was left on the charger, wallet still on the desk, but the case, that was gone too. All that was left was a new note, slipped under the door. He travels fast. Now you see, the footage doesn't blink. I didn't call the police right away. I know how that sounds. But when someone disappears without taking their shoes, without their phone, without even shutting the laptop lid, your brain doesn't jump to crime. It jumps to denial, to glitches, to maybe he went for a walk, to anything that lets you breathe one more minute without screaming. I stayed in Leo's room until sunrise, sitting on the floor with my back against the bed, staring at the door like it might open if I stared hard enough. My phone buzzed non-stop. Instagram notifications, TikTok junk, my mom asking if I'd landed safely yet. I didn't answer anyone. I kept replaying the sound from the night before in my head. That scraping, that deliberate, patient dragging sound, like something taking its time. Around 7 a.m., I remembered the cameras. Leo's dad was paranoid. Former insurance investigator. He had security cams everywhere. The driveway, the front porch, the side gate, even the alley behind the house. I knew the login because Leo used to pull clips all the time and post them to his private Snapchat when raccoons triggered the motion sensor. I opened the app with shaking fingers. The timeline was quiet. Too quiet. No alerts. No motion warnings. That should have been my first red flag. Los Angeles doesn't sleep. Cats, cars, drunk people. Something always triggers those cameras. I scrubbed back to midnight. The porch cam loaded first. At 11:58 p.m., everything looked normal. Streetlights humming. A Starbucks cup rolling lazily down the sidewalk in the wind. At 12 o'clock exactly, the footage skipped. Not froze. Skipped. Like someone had cut out a few frames with scissors. Then it came back, and something was standing on the porch. Not a person. Not really. It was tall. Too tall. Its proportions were wrong, in a way my brain rejected at first. Like when you see an AI-generated image, and your eyes slide right off it. Long legs bent backward at the knee. Its upper body hunched forward, shoulders wrapped in something dark and heavy that dragged on the ground behind it. And on its head. I paused the video. I wish I hadn't. It was wearing a face. Not a mask. A face. Pale, waxy, stretched too tight, with a beard that didn't move when it moved. The eyes were open, but empty, like glass ornaments. Like the Santa statues you see in mall displays if you stare at them too long and start to imagine their breathing. I hit play. The thing raised one arm and knocked. 3 times. Perfect rhythm. The door opened from the inside. Leo stepped out. He looked. Calm. Too calm. Like he was sleepwalking. Like someone had turned his volume down. He didn't speak. He didn't resist. He just followed it as it turned and moved off the porch. Here's the part that makes me feel sick, even now. As they walked away, the thing didn't walk. Its feet barely touched the ground. It glided, smoothly, effortlessly, like it was being pulled along invisible rails. And Leo, my cousin who tripped over air, who couldn't skate to save his life, kept pace without stumbling once. At the edge of the frame, just before they vanished, the thing turned its head and looked directly into the camera. I threw my phone across the room. I don't remember screaming, but my throat hurt afterward, so I must have. I locked myself in the bathroom and sat in the tub until the water ran cold, refreshing Reddit on my phone, like someone might have posted the answer to what I'd just seen. Like there was a subreddit for holiday entities that abduct people through chimneys and Wi-Fi routers. I finally called the police at 9:12 a.m. They were polite, too polite. They asked the right questions, nodded at the footage, wrote notes. One of them, a woman with tired eyes, rewound the clip and paused it on the thing's face. Probably a costume, she said. Some kind of prank. I wanted to grab her shoulders and shake her. Ask her if she'd ever seen a prank that edited security footage in real time. But I didn't. I just nodded like a good, cooperative witness. They took the footage. They took Leo's laptop. They told me to call if I remembered anything else. That afternoon, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I didn't answer. A second later, a message came through. You saw the door. Now you understand the speed. Attached was a video file. Against every instinct I had left, I opened it. It was shot vertically, shaky, low resolution. A phone camera. Nighttime. Somewhere public. Somewhere familiar. I recognized the golden arches before I recognized the street. It was a McDonald's in Times Square. The camera panned across tourists, neon lights, a guy in an Elmo costume smoking a cigarette. Normal chaos. Then the camera zoomed in on the sidewalk near the entrance, on the reflection in the glass, behind the people, behind the noise. That thing was there again, standing perfectly still, inches behind, a woman scrolling her phone, close enough that its shadow overlapped hers. No one reacted. No one noticed. It was like it existed in a different layer of reality, slightly out of sync. Then, just for a single frame, the reflection changed. The Santa face was gone. Underneath was something dark and hollow, and smiling far too wide. The video ended. My phone vibrated one last time. He makes stops. He always has. That night, every screen in the house turned on by itself. The TV flipped to static, then to an old animated Christmas special I didn't recognize. The colors were wrong. The characters' eyes didn't blink. Santa's sleigh crossed the screen, again and again, looping, the bell sound layered underneath, louder each time. On my laptop, Google Maps opened without me touching it. A route was already loaded, from Seattle to every place Leo had ever checked into on social media, and one destination at the end, my address. I unplugged everything. I sat in the dark with my knees pulled to my chest, listening to the city breathe outside the window. Sirens, distant laughter, life continuing like nothing had been taken. At exactly 12:01 a.m., something scraped along the roof, slow, deliberate, right above my head, and this time, it didn't knock. It rang the bell, once, then twice, and somewhere in the house, a door began to open by itself. The stops he makes. The door didn't open all the way. That's the part I fixate on now. It creaked inward just enough to let cold air spill across the floor, thin as a breath slipping between teeth. No footsteps followed. No shadow crossed the hallway. Just that smell again. Metallic. Old. Like something that had been sealed away and finally remembered how to breathe. I stayed perfectly still. I didn't even blink. I was convinced that whatever rules this thing followed depended on awareness, on acknowledgement, like those childhood games where you freeze because someone said, "Don't move," and your body believes them more than logic ever could. My phone buzzed in my hand. A notification from Google Photos. Memories from 3 years ago. I didn't tap it. It opened anyway. It was a video Leo had recorded at Disneyland. Him laughing, wearing those stupid Santa Mickey ears, fake snow falling behind him, Main Street glowing like a postcard lie. I remembered that day. He'd complained the whole time about the heat, about how Santa shouldn't exist somewhere palm trees grew. The video glitched. The audio warped, slowed down until his laughter stretched into something wet and wrong. The camera jerked upward, pointing at the sky above the park. And there, hovering just beyond the fireworks, was a shape moving impossibly fast, streaking from cloud to cloud, leaving nothing behind but a faint, ringing echo. The bell. I slammed the phone face down and finally broke. I ran. Not outside, not into the open, where streets and lights and people could pretend to save me. I ran into the garage. Old instinct, like hiding under the bed from a monster that knew exactly where you were anyway. The garage smelled like oil and cardboard. Christmas decorations stacked against the wall. Plastic reindeer, tangled lights. A fake Santa missing one eye. I locked the door and slid down against it, shaking so hard my teeth rattled. Then the lights flicked on. The radio in my uncle's old car crackled to life. Static. Then a voice, cheerful and distorted, like an announcer from a forgotten era. Making stops all over the world tonight, folks. The station changed on its own. Report to disturbances near major landmarks. Another click. Authorities deny any connection to the disappearances. Click. Children advised to stay indoors. I covered my ears. The bell rang again, closer now, reverberating through the walls like the house itself was a hollow instrument being struck. The garage door shuddered, not banged, not kicked, lifted, slowly, like something testing the weight. I don't know what saved me in that moment. Luck, timing, or maybe the thing simply wasn't finished yet. My phone buzzed again, violently, like it was about to explode. A live location share popped up. Leo, active now. I tapped it. The dot moved. Fast. Not driving fast. Not playing fast. It jumped. Seattle, Tokyo, Paris, Rio. Each stop less than a second apart. Famous places, crowded places, places with lights and cameras, and people who would swear. Later, they felt a chill pass through them for no reason at all. The dot stopped. North Pole. Then it started moving again, back toward me. I don't remember leaving the garage. I don't remember grabbing my coat or my keys. I just know that suddenly I was driving, hands numb, eyes burning, the city blurring past like it was afraid to be seen with me. I ended up at a 24-hour Starbucks off the highway. Bright, warm, full of people pretending nothing bad could happen under fluorescent lights and seasonal playlists. I sat in the corner, shaking, watching the door. My phone vibrated one last time. A video call request. No name. Just a profile picture. A bell. I declined it. The TV above the counter cut to breaking news. A reporter stood in front of a mall in Germany, breath fogging in the cold. Witnesses report a tall figure moving against the wind. Behind her, through the glass doors, something glided past. The barista dropped a cup. It shattered. No one laughed. The bell rang, not from my phone, from inside the cafe. I saw it reflected in the espresso machine first, standing behind me, closer than it had ever been. I didn't turn around. I didn't scream, because in that reflection, I could see its hand resting gently on my shoulder, and dangling from its fingers was Leo's phone, unlocked, camera facing me, recording. A message appeared on my screen, typed letter by letter. He learns the roots by heart. The bell rang again, and this time I understood. This wasn't about gifts. This wasn't about punishment. This was about delivery. And I was next on the list. The root is inside me. Now. I don't remember standing up, but suddenly the chair scraped behind me, and people were staring like I'd just screamed something awful. The reflection in the espresso machine was gone. The bell sound lingered though, thin and fading, like tinnitus after an explosion. I bolted for the door, knocking into a man in a puffer jacket who muttered something about watching where I was going. His breath smelled like peppermint. I think about that a lot now. How normal it all still was for everyone else. Outside, the cold hit me hard enough to steal the air from my lungs. Snow flurries drifted under the streetlights, even though the forecast said clear skies. I kept walking. Didn't matter where. I just needed distance. From the cafe, from the cameras, from whatever rules it followed when it knew where you were sitting. My phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Not messages, not calls, calendar alerts. They were populating in real time. Events being added without my permission, without a title I recognized at first. Just coordinates and timestamps. Every 5 minutes. Places I'd never been, but somehow knew intimately. A rest stop, bathroom in Nevada. A playground in Warsaw. The roof of a hospital in São Paulo. Each alert tagged with the same reminder note. Arrival window. I tried turning the phone off. It turned itself back on. I ducked into a Target because it was there, and because red bullseyes and security guards felt safer than open streets. The Christmas section was still up. Fake snow sprayed on plastic trees, shelves of ornaments shaped like cartoon Santas, with oversized heads and vacant smiles. As I passed them, their little motion sensors triggered one by one, laughing mechanically in staggered bursts. Ho, 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 ho. I dropped my phone. On the screen was a live video feed, not from my camera, from above. A bird's eye view of the store. I could see myself moving through the aisle, a dark shape weaving between end caps. The angle adjusted smoothly, tracking me without lag. No drone shadow, no propellers, just omniscience. Text scrolled across the bottom of the feed. Crowded places are efficient. Fewer questions. I ran, through home decor, through toys, past a little girl tugging her mom's sleeve and pointing at me like she could see something trailing just behind my heels. I burst out the emergency exit and didn't stop until my legs burned and my vision tunneled. I ended up somewhere I didn't recognize. A neighborhood of identical houses, all decorated within an inch of their lives. Inflatable Santas swayed on lawns. Projected snowflakes crawled across garage doors. The air hummed faintly, like electricity under skin. That's when I realized something was wrong with the sound. No cars, no dogs, no wind, just bells. Soft at first, distant, coming from everywhere and nowhere. I checked my phone again. The route had changed. The final destination wasn't my address anymore. It was a live pin, following me. I ducked into a random house because the door was unlocked and because fear makes you stupid. The inside was warm and smelled like cinnamon candles and roast meat. A family sat frozen in the living room, eyes wide, mouths open mid-sentence. The TV was paused on a children's Christmas movie. Animated snow hung motionless on the screen. They weren't dead. They were waiting. Every head turned toward me in perfect unison. The bell rang once. From the hallway, something tall cast a shadow that stretched across the ceiling, bending around corners that shouldn't allow it. I backed away slowly, heart slamming so hard I thought it might crack my ribs. On the wall behind the family hung a large frame photo. It was Leo, older, thinner, smiling stiffly in a red suit that didn't fit right, standing beside the thing with its arm draped over his shoulder like a proud mentor. The caption below the photo read, "Seasonal Staff, 2019. The shadow moved closer. The family stood up together, and I understood then, with horrifying clarity, that this wasn't a predator hunting randomly. It was a system, a logistics chain, a workforce. People weren't being taken, they were being reassigned. I bolted out the back door, crashing through a screen, sprinting until my lungs felt like paper. The bells were louder now, overlapping, harmonizing, like an entire orchestra warming up just for me. My phone buzzed one final time. A message, not from a number this time, but from my own contact card. My name. "You already know the route. You've been memorizing it all night." And that's when it hit me. The stops, the coordinates, the way my body seemed to move before my thoughts caught up. I wasn't running from it anymore. I was being guided, and somewhere ahead of me, just out of sight, a bell was waiting to be handed over. The last stop is always you. There's a moment before you stop being human, where everything becomes very clear. For me, it happened under a dead streetlight, flickering like it couldn't decide whether I still existed. I stood there panting, hands on my knees, saliva stringing from my mouth like I'd been running for years instead of hours. The bells had gone quiet. That terrified me more than the noise ever did. Silence meant arrival. My phone slipped from my fingers and cracked on the asphalt. The screen didn't shatter. It stayed perfectly intact. glowing brighter than it should have, displaying a checklist I didn't remember creating. Route confirmed, stops memorized, subject conditioning complete. Below it, a single button pulsed gently. Accept roll. I laughed. I actually laughed. It came out wrong. High, sharp, broken, like a sound effect from a cartoon that didn't belong in the scene. I shook my head and whispered no over and over, bargaining with nothing, with no one. That's when the memories started rearranging themselves. Not new ones, old ones. Every time I'd seen Santa as a kid and felt uneasy for no reason. Every mall photo where I couldn't remember sitting down, but there I was, smiling stiffly on some stranger's lap. Every Christmas Eve where I swore I heard something on the roof, but was told it was just the house settling. I remembered being very small, standing somewhere cold and endless, watching others line up. I remembered the bell in my hand. No, I said again, louder this time, but the word felt outdated, like a language I didn't speak anymore. The air in front of me folded inward, not tore, not split. Folded, neatly, politely, like reality was making room. It stepped through. Up close, the illusion was impossible to maintain. The red fabric wasn't cloth. It was layered, fused, grown. The beard moved now, writhing slightly, like it was breathing on its own. The face sagged, stretched thin, over something that didn't need eyes to see. It held something out to me. The bell, not the same one. This one was cleaner, newer, barely scratched, waiting to be worn down. I backed away until my spine hit brick. I won't, I said. You can't make me. It tilted its head. Then it spoke. Not out loud. Inside me. You already have. The world lurched. Streets peeled away like set dressing. Houses, trees, cars, props being dragged backward into darkness. I saw the roots then, not on a screen, but carved into the inside of my skull. A web of movement spanning continents, threading through chimneys and vents and doors, left unlocked by people who believed in safety. I saw the others, thousands of them, some dressed like helpers, some like parents, some like strangers you pass every day and never remember, all moving when the bell rang, all smiling when it was time. I saw Leo again. He stood among them, eyes hollow but peaceful, nodding at me like this was a promotion, like I'd finally caught up. My hands lifted on their own, wrapped around the bell. It was warm, heavy with use. The thing stepped back, satisfied, already losing interest. It didn't need to stay. Supervisors never do. The street snapped back into place. Sound rushed in. Cars passed at the intersection like nothing had happened. A couple walked by, laughing, arms full of shopping bags. One of them glanced at me and frowned. "Nice costume," he said. I looked down. Red fabric clung to me where my clothes had been. White trim brushed my wrists. My reflection in a darkened window smiled back wrong. Too still, too practiced. My phone buzzed. A new message, sent from an account I didn't recognize, but somehow owned. Shift begins. A map unfolded in my mind. The first stop was close. I rang the bell. Somewhere nearby, a door opened. If you're reading this and wondering why I'd post it, why I'd warn you, it's because I still remember what it felt like to be afraid. That part hasn't been reassigned yet. It's small, but it's loud enough to type. Check your locks tonight. Check your roof. If you hear a bell, don't look for the source. And if you ordered something you shouldn't have, if a package arrives with no return address, don't open it, because I'm already on my way, and I don't miss stops. I used to be a dark web hitman. Now the government pays me to hunt what they call failed humans. There are 6 rules you must never break. This all started at a Starbucks in Seattle. So this is going to sound like one of those dumb creepypasta stories you read at 3 a.m. when you're too scared to sleep, but too curious to stop. But I swear to you, this actually happened. Or is still happening. I don't even know anymore. It all started 2 years ago, and I remember it down to the exact moment, the exact fucking smell in the air. You know how Starbucks has that warm cinnamon hazelnut thing going on, but there's always like this background smell of burnt coffee, no matter what you order. Yeah, that smell's burned into my memory now. Tied to the moment, everything in my life took a nosedive, straight into the Twilight Zone. I was sitting in a Starbucks just off 3rd Avenue in Seattle, near the Amazon spheres. I used to go there every Tuesday around 2 p.m. No reason really, just kind of a ritual. I'd scroll Reddit, check in on Discord, maybe pop onto Omegle if I was bored enough. Back then, I was one of those guys who was way too online. You know the type. Keyboard warrior, black hoodie, noise-canceling headphones, avoiding real life like it was a virus. I was into coding, dark web markets, crypto fraud, you name it. But I wasn't a bad guy. Not yet. I stumbled into the dark web by accident when I was 17, and like any idiot kid with a VPN and an inflated ego, I just kept digging. At first it was just for the thrill. Forums, onion links, those sites where people pretend to sell organs, or maybe actually do. It was like a horror version of eBay. But then, one day, I got offered a job, and I took it. I was 23 the first time I killed someone. Yeah, you read that right. This isn't the part where I confess my sins to the internet. I'm not here to cry for forgiveness or go all philosophical. This is just a warning, because there's something way worse than people like me on the dark web. Something no one's supposed to know about. Something the government pays me to find and contain. But I'm getting ahead of myself. That day in the Starbucks, I was checking this old dark web forum I used to haunt called Deep 32, which got shut down a couple of years back after an FBI sting. You won't find anything about it on Google. Trust me, I've looked. It was like the Craigslist of evil. Assassins for hire, human experiments, occult services, just real unfiltered 3 a.m. nightmares. And I got a message, not on the forum, on my Proton mail. Subject, your services are still required. From redacted at protonmail.com. Body, you broke rule number 4. You're still on contract. There was a video file attached. Let me be clear. I hadn't done anything for those people in almost a year. I'd gone dark, deleted all my burner phones, ghosted the accounts, dumped the crypto wallets. I even changed my alias on the dark web, started fresh. But this email, it used my old name, Merc. I hadn't used that handle in 15 months. Only one group ever called me that. The file was only 45 seconds long. It opened to a grainy street cam angle, like CCTV footage. The timestamp was from that morning, and I swear to God, the footage was of me, walking out of my apartment building, earbuds in, hoodie up, oblivious. Then it cut to a black screen with white text. You don't get to leave. You were the one who took the rules. Now you deal with them. Below that, 6 lines. I hadn't seen these in years. The 6 rules of the contracted: never take a job from an unverified string. Don't contact other contractors directly. Leave no witnesses. Don't decline a marked target. Don't return to the location after it's done. Never investigate the origin of the list. I'd broken rule number 4. Last year, there was this target that didn't sit right with me. A kid, 14 years old, some influencer's son in Manhattan, who was about to expose a sex trafficking ring on TikTok Live. Said too much, too fast. The job came through like any other. He was marked, but I bailed, deleted the string, didn't even respond, and I thought that was the end of it, until that Starbucks message. I walked out mid-latte, didn't even dump it in the trash. I just bolted. There was this tight pressure building in my chest, like the air was too thick, like someone was watching me from every window. I rushed home, pulled all my old backups, plugged in the air-gapped laptop I swore I'd never touch again. I went looking for the list. The list is like the dark web's urban legend. People say it's this auto-generated set of targets compiled by some AI or some government program gone rogue. No one knows where it comes from. People just receive strings, names, coordinates, sometimes just usernames or Instagram handles. They always show up red, always encrypted, and if you ignore them, they don't stop coming. I opened the terminal and ran an old script I wrote to filter inbound strings. It started pulling data immediately, more than I'd ever seen before. Hundreds, thousands, all of them marked red. And then, no joke, a name popped up I wasn't expecting. Mine. That night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I'd see myself on that CCTV footage. The weird way I moved, like it was me, but not me. Like something was off about my body, too stiff, like I was being puppeted. The next morning, there were fingerprints all over my windows, from the inside. I don't even know how to describe what that felt like you're waking up in someone else's life. My laptop was gone. My burner phones were dumped on the couch in a neat little pile, lined up like a fucking art exhibit. On the wall, scratched into the paint with something sharp, were 2 words: failed human. That was when the government came. 3 unmarked SUVs, no sirens, no knocking, just flashbangs through the windows, and men in suits dragging me out like I was Osama bin Laden. They didn't take me to jail. They took me underground. They gave me a new name, a new apartment, a new phone, and they gave me a new list. I asked them what the hell was going on. One of the agents, this tall woman in a beige trench coat, said something that still keeps me up at night. We don't care that you killed people. We care that the list doesn't stop, and that it started choosing ones like you. I asked what she meant by ones like me. She looked at me dead in the eyes and said, "You're not the only failed human, but you're the only one who survived." My first failed human assignment was already living in my apartment. When they finally let me out of the white room, 3 days of silence, no lights, no clocks, just this humming sound in the walls like teeth grinding. I was escorted by a silent man in a grey hoodie who smelled like wet drywall and copper. He never blinked. I'm not even sure if he breathed. He handed me a plastic bag with a phone, 2 keys, a burner debit card, and a thumb drive that had a label on it, in perfect block text. Assignment 001 L Alpha. Target type: failed human containment. Priority: absolute. Engage only if ready to terminate. No folder name, no sender, just that. And then he walked away, or dissolved. I swear to God, I blinked, and the hallway was empty. The new apartment was in Portland, Oregon, one of those fake gentrified buildings near Powell's Books, where half the tenants are podcasters or people running Instagram tarot accounts. Mine was on the 3rd floor. The doorman was blind in one eye and asked me if I preferred static or whispering noise to sleep. I laughed. He didn't. When I stepped inside, it was already furnished. Someone had laid out clothes that matched my size exactly. Phone charger already plugged in next to the bed. TV logged into a Netflix account called Guest 666. I'm not making that up. But the worst part, there was a smell, like old meat thawing in a microwave. Faint, but heavy. I know that smell. Death pretending it's still alive. I started looking through the place. Everything looked normal on the surface. Grey IKEA couch, faux marble countertops, minimal wall art that screamed, trying to be normal. But then I opened the closet in the bedroom. There were 4 things hanging. My old hoodie, a blood-stained USPS uniform, a Starbucks apron, and a jacket with the Amazon Prime Now logo burned into the sleeve. I checked the tags. All 4 matched my size, down to the inch. There was a smell coming from the floor vent behind the dresser. I got on my knees and pried it open. Stuffed inside, wrapped in a Chipotle burrito wrapper, was a single human molar, still bloody. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Your first failed human is inside the building. They've already used your name twice this week. I didn't sleep. I just sat there, gripping the steak knife I found in the silverware drawer, waiting for a sound. Any sound. Around 3:12 a.m., there was a knock on the door. 3 soft taps. Then silence. Then my own voice. Hey man, you left your lights on. Thought you might want to know. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. My own fucking voice from the other side of the door. Then more knocking. Harder now. Aggressive. You good in there? Don't ignore me, you rude little fuck. The voice was glitching. It would say one word normal, then skip, then say another word twice. Don't ignore, ignore. FK, FK. Open, open. I stepped closer to the peephole. What I saw on the other side wasn't a person. It was a perfect copy of me, but just wrong. Hair too stiff, eyes too dry, skin tight on the cheeks, like it had been vacuum sealed. It was wearing the Amazon jacket, and it was smiling, but the teeth weren't mine. They were too sharp. Its pupils were pinpricks, and then it looked directly at me, through the door, through the peephole, like it knew. It whispered, "There's no difference between you and me anymore. You just remember better." At 4:08 a.m., the copy left. I never heard the door open. No footsteps down the hall. Just gone. Vanished like mist. I didn't leave the apartment for a week, but the messages kept coming. Failed humans don't just imitate. They remember. And sometimes they're better at being you than you ever were. Kill it before it kills someone else and signs your name in their spine. I started watching, setting up decoys, placing subtle traps only I would avoid. Razor behind the soap bar, salt under the fridge handle. Faileds hate salt, burns their skin like acid. Every night, things were slightly off. One day, the toothpaste cap would be unscrewed. Next day, the volume on the TV would be 1 notch higher than I left it. My Discord account got logged into from a different device, even though 2-factor authentication was on. I asked the front desk who lived next to me. The doorman leaned in and whispered, "You're the only tenant on this floor. Always have been. Always will be." I finally played the thumb drive. It was a video file, 6 minutes long. Security cam footage, date stamped 3 months before I moved in. The angle showed the hallway outside my apartment. It was me, dragging a body by the neck. Only it wasn't me. The person doing the dragging was twitching, shaking its head too much, like they were trying to shake off their own skin. They opened my apartment door without touching the handle. Then they turned to the camera and smiled. The face started to melt, not drip, melt, like wax over muscle. Underneath was something else, pale, featureless, no mouth, no eyes, just a single vertical slit from forehead to chin. It raised one hand and waved. It knew it was being watched. I grabbed the knife and went hunting, room by room. I didn't care if it screamed. I wanted it to. Bathroom, closet, under the bed, nothing. Then I opened the fridge. There was a human face pressed against the back wall, not inside the fridge, inside the wall of it, like it had been frozen halfway through, crawling into our world. Lips twitching, tongue darting in and out, one eyeball blinking, the other missing completely. My own face. It smiled and whispered, "You broke Rule 6. I hacked into a secure contractor server using the phone they gave me and found something called the Anthropos Index. It's a classified database of every failed human ever documented. Supposedly, there are thousands of entries, some dating back to the 1970s. One of the oldest entries was from 1994. It had a photo. The subject looked just like me, wearing the same hoodie I was given, standing outside a Target in Milwaukee, time-stamped 3 years before I was born. The next night, the doorman was gone. His desk was empty. No chair, no coffee cup, no lobby. The building interior had changed completely. Elevator replaced with a metal staircase that just kept spiraling down. Walls pulsing like they were alive, veins underneath the wallpaper, and I could hear footsteps behind me, always exactly 1 second after I moved. When I finally turned around, there was a man wearing my dead dad's face. He handed me a manila envelope and said, "Assignment 2. This one knows what it is." Inside the envelope, a VHS tape, a name, Mira Jane Walters, a location, Disneyland, Anaheim, and a line of red text scrawled like it had been written with a fingernail dipped in nerve fluid. Failed humans can breed now. Disney is built on bones, and something there knows my name. I flew into Anaheim under a name that wasn't mine, sitting between a TikTok couple arguing in whispers and a woman watching children's cartoons with the sound off, her lips moving like she was reciting something along with the characters. Every time the plane hit turbulence, she smiled wider. I stopped looking at her after I realized she never blinked. The government didn't escort me this time. No handlers, no backup. Just a text when I landed. Do not alert local authorities. Do not engage the target in public view. If the target speaks your name first, you are already too late. I rented a car and drove straight past the Disneyland sign. You know the one, flowers arranged just right, colors too cheerful to be real, like it's daring you to feel safe. Families lined up at the gates, kids wearing mouse ears, parents already exhausted. I watched them through the windshield and felt something crawl under my skin, because I could see it, not with my eyes exactly, more like a pressure, a vibration in the air, thickest near the park, like the place was humming, quietly, patiently, like a machine that had been running too long and learned how to think. I checked into a motel down the street, one of those that hasn't been renovated since the 90s. The ice machine was broken. The carpet smelled like old sugar and mildew. Perfect. That night, I watched the VHS tape they'd given me. It wasn't surveillance footage. It wasn't edited. It looked like a home video. A woman stood in front of Sleeping Beauty Castle, holding a baby. She was smiling so hard, her face looked painful. The baby was crying, but no sound came out. The timestamp in the corner flickered like it couldn't decide what year it was. Then the woman looked straight into the camera and said, "Say hi to Daddy." The baby turned its head. It had too many teeth. The tape ended with a single frame burned into the screen. Failed human, breeder class. Mirror. Jane Walters worked at the park. I found that out through a combination of stolen credentials, hacked employee portals, and a Reddit thread complaining about the weirdest cast member I've ever met. Custodial. Night shift. Mostly worked around Fantasyland and the underground tunnels. Yeah, those are real. They call them utilidors, Walt's little secret veins under the park. I went during the day first, blending in. Hoodie, sunglasses, baseball cap, with some random esports logo. I stood in line at a McDonald's just outside the park, listening to teenagers argue about who ruined the fries last time. Everything felt painfully normal, and that made it worse. Inside the park, I felt it again, that hum, stronger now, like the ground itself was aware of me, tracking my steps. I passed a Starbucks, where a barista called out a name that wasn't on any cup. My name. I didn't stop walking. Kids screamed on rides. Mascots waved. Music played on a loop that had probably been looping since before I was born. But underneath it all was another sound, low and constant, like a distant crowd whispering in unison. I followed Mira after sundown. She didn't walk like a normal person. She glided, almost. Her mop never touched the ground, but the floor behind her was always spotless. Too spotless, like it had been erased. She went into a restricted door near the It's a Small World ride. I followed. The utilidors don't look like the movies. They're narrow, industrial, painted in dull colors, meant to keep workers calm. But the deeper I went, the more wrong they felt. The lights flickered in patterns that didn't repeat. The walls were warm to the touch, almost soft. I heard singing, children's voices, overlapping, out of sync, the same melody over and over. I rounded a corner and saw her. Mira stood in the middle of the corridor, back to me, rocking gently like she was holding something. She wasn't. The walls around her were covered in drawings, childlike crayon figures etched directly into the paint, like someone had scratched them in with their nails. Stick people with hollow eyes, castles with mouths, a mouse shape with its head split open. She spoke without turning around. "You know they don't tear it down," she said. "They just build over it, layer after layer, like skin." I raised the gun they'd given me. My hands were steady. That scared me more than anything. She turned. Her face was wrong. Not monstrous, not deformed. Just unfinished. Like someone had stopped rendering her halfway through. Her eyes were too far apart. Her smile didn't reach them. "My first was born under the carousel," she continued, calm as a tour guide. "Second one in a hotel bathroom. Third one," she tilted her head. "Third one hasn't decided what it wants to be yet." I told her to get on the ground. She laughed. It echoed, multiplied, bounced down the corridors until it sounded like dozens of people laughing at slightly different speeds. "You can't kill me," she said. "I'm not the point. I'm the door." The lights went out. When they came back on, the hallway was longer, twisting, wrong. The walls pulsed now, faintly, like they were breathing. I heard footsteps, small ones, scurrying just out of sight. Something brushed my leg. I fired. The sound was swallowed instantly, like the corridor ate it. Whatever I hit screamed, not loud, but deep, like the sound came from underground, from somewhere old. Mira was gone. In her place was a stroller. I didn't want to look inside. Every instinct I had told me not to, but my body moved anyway, like it wasn't mine anymore. Inside the stroller was a bundle of blankets, and inside that, no, I won't describe it. Not because I'm protecting you, because it doesn't fit into words that humans are meant to use. Just know this, it was alive, and it knew me. It reached out with something that wasn't a hand and touched my wrist. I felt memories drain out of me, not fade, get pulled. Childhood, faces, names. For a second, I didn't know who I was. Then my phone buzzed. Termination authorized. Do not allow it to leave the park. I did what I was trained to do. When it was over, the corridors were normal again. Just concrete, just pipes, just silence. I stumbled back into the park as fireworks exploded overhead. Everyone was cheering, kids on shoulders, phones in the air. No one noticed the blood on my shoes. No one noticed me shaking. Later that night, back at the motel, I checked social media. There were videos trending already. Creepy Disneyland glitch? Cast member acting weird? Did anyone else hear a baby crying under the park? And one video, barely 1,000 views, uploaded from an account with no profile picture. The title was just, Daddy. In the reflection of the fireworks behind the crowd, I saw myself standing there, smiling. The government sent another message at dawn. Breeder neutralized. Contamination status, unknown. New rule added. Attached was a single line, in red. Rule number 7. If you ever see yourself before a job is complete, assume the copy is the original. I threw up in the sink and stared at my reflection until it started to move on its own. Next assignment came through an hour later. A city I'd always wanted to visit. A name I recognized, and a note at the bottom, smaller than the rest. They're learning to pretend they're still human. Some of them already believe it. Berlin wasn't supposed to be screaming underground. But then I found the farm. You know that feeling when your body's somewhere, but your soul is lagging behind? That floating, out-of-frame disconnection. That's how it feels when you kill something that looks human but isn't, and then it bleeds like one anyway. They never tell you that part. You think it'll be black ooze, or wires, or ash. No. Failed humans bleed warm, rich, familiar, and wrong. I landed in Berlin with blood still under my fingernails, from Anaheim. It wouldn't come out. Not with hotel soap. Not with scalding water. I didn't sleep on the plane. I didn't eat. The flight attendant asked if I was okay. I told her I forgot how to blink. She laughed. I didn't. The name they gave me this time wasn't a person. It was a location. Fleisch Farm 09 coordinates. Redacted access level. Black zone. Note: do not ingest meat products within a 6-kilometer radius of the site. Rule 8. If they ask to be killed, don't. I drove south in a stolen delivery van, blending in. The German countryside is quiet in a way that's almost obscene. Clean-cut trees, fences like they were drawn by a child with OCD. Villages that don't have street names, only warnings. About halfway there, I passed an abandoned gas station. There were animal bones piled behind it, tied together with USB cables. No dogs in the towns, no birds in the sky, only silence, and something under it. The coordinates led me to an old industrial meatpacking plant about 45 minutes outside Berlin, completely fenced off. No road in, no signage, just a gate sealed with barbed wire and welded steel. The air was thick, not fog, not smoke. Meat. The whole atmosphere smelled like old meat. Not rotten, not fresh, just constant, saturated. The air tasted like iron. There were no guards, no cameras, no power. But somehow the front door opened on its own. Inside was pitch black. I turned on my flashlight. That's when I saw them. Bodies. Rows and rows of skinned, breathing bodies hanging upside down, twitching. Not hooked. Braided into the ceiling. Mouths stitched shut with fiber optic thread. Eyes stapled wide open with IKEA price tag guns. Every one of them looked just like me. The one closest to me was mouthing my name. I raised my gun and blew its skull out without hesitation. Behind it, dozens started thrashing, violently, like fish out of water, but not screaming, not groaning, just dry movement, like they'd forgotten how to be loud. And then the room lit up. Red lights, emergency backflow power. Somebody or something wanted me to see what came next. The hallway leading deeper into the plant was lined with cages. Inside each one, malformed copies of people I knew. My first target, my high school ex, a barista from Portland, a clone of my childhood dog, dragging itself across the bars on human hands. All of them were twitching, all of them were smiling, and every cage had a sign etched in rusted metal. Failed human, beta genome, processing, do not educate. One of them started speaking, not like talking, like spitting syllables, like it had heard language once and was chewing it into shape. Foof. Aimed. You. I smashed the lock and put 3 rounds into its brain. The echo didn't bounce. The walls absorbed it. Further in, I found the nursery. Yes, nursery. Rows of hospital beds. Children lying still. Except these weren't children. Not fully. They had the wrong bones. Too many joints. Some blinked sideways. One was blinking before it had eyes. And every crib had the same carved brand above it. MKZERLINGBRUTE/successful host. One of them sat up. It looked like me. Only younger. 12 maybe. It smiled and said, "You're late. They've already picked your name for the next batch." I don't remember drawing the knife. I don't remember the sound, but I remember what it said as it bled. We dream of meat, and we're starving. The main chamber was cold, too cold. Ice on the floor, frost hanging from ceiling pipes like stringy hair. I followed the cables, dozens of power lines running down into the basement, deeper than any blueprint had documented. No stairs, just a hole cut clean through the concrete, like something bored upward into the building. There was a ladder, rusted, old, greasy, with something like skin oil. I climbed, and I descended into the farm. What I found wasn't a basement, it was a cathedral, constructed entirely out of human bones, molded together like resin, skulls for windows, femurs for pillars. In the center, a pulpit made from spinal cords, stacked in spirals, and surrounding it were hundreds of humanoid things, kneeling in silent worship. Some of them turned to me. Some had faces. Mine. One of them stepped forward. Its skin was tight over bone. Its jaw opened too wide. Its voice was layered, 6 or 7 speaking in sync, like overlapping YouTube videos. The government calls us failed, but you're the broken one. You, the copy that thinks it's whole. I raised the gun. It smiled, stepped closer. We remember being better. We remember being you. You're not the first version, just the loudest. I shot it. It laughed as it died, and so did all the others. I ran. I ran back up the ladder, feet soaked in red frost, mouth full of that meat taste. I blew the plant's main pipeline with thermite, and collapsed part of the structure behind me. I don't know how many of them burned. I don't know how many escaped. I only know what was waiting for me when I got back to the van. A mirror, but no reflection, and a note taped to the steering wheel in a child's handwriting. We can wear your skin longer than you wore your name. We don't fail. We evolve. The government didn't respond for 4 days. Then a message. Fleisch Farm, 09. Lost. Genetic spillage. Likely. Containment unstable. Proceed to Paris for interim assignment. Do not eat. Do not sleep. Do not speak your name aloud. And one final warning, scratched into the side of the van in something that pulsed. Rule number 9. If the meat tries to prey, burn it. If it finishes, run. Paris was the end of the list, or the beginning of the harvest. Paris doesn't feel real at night. It feels staged, like someone rebuilt a memory of a city from postcards and Instagram reels and forgot to add the soul. I arrived just after midnight, rain slicking the streets, neon reflections wobbling on the pavement like the city was already melting. The government didn't give me a name this time, just a sentence. The failed have finished learning. This is a cleanup, not a hunt. If you see a crowd that is too quiet, do not enter it. They sent me to the outskirts first. Abandoned metro stations, the kind tourists never see. The ones sealed after structural issues. I went down through a maintenance hatch that smelled like wet stone and old electricity. The air was colder the deeper I went, not naturally cold, stored cold, like something was preserving itself. My phone lost signal, then it buzzed anyway. They're waiting for you below. They prefer you whole. The tunnels under Paris are layered like a lie told too many times. Old rails beneath newer rails, catacombs branching off like veins. I followed the sound. No footsteps, no voices, just a low rhythmic pressure, like something massive breathing through the walls. I reached a chamber that wasn't on any map. Candles lined the floor in perfect symmetry, hundreds of them, all unlit. In the center stood a long table, made from something that looked like marble, until you got close enough to see pores. Around the table sat people, normal people, office clothes, tourists, someone wearing a McDonald's uniform, still greasy at the collar, a couple holding hands, a teenager scrolling TikTok, sound off, tears running down his face, for no reason he could explain. They were alive. They all turned toward me at once, and they smiled. One of them stood up, a woman with tired eyes and a Starbucks cup still clenched in her hand. She spoke gently, like she didn't want to scare me. "We don't need to hide anymore," she said. "That's what Paris is for. Everyone's already pretending." I scanned them. No weapons, no obvious deformities, no wrong shadows. That was the worst part. Another stood, a man in a business suit, accent smooth. "You helped us," he said. "Every time you killed one of us, you taught us how not to look next time." The teenager looked up from his phone. "You taught us pain," he added. "Pain teaches faster than language." Behind them, the candles lit themselves, not with flame, with something dimmer, colder. The table began to move. It unfolded, seam splitting, reshaping itself into something like a stage. Symbols carved into its surface pulse faintly, not glowing, but remembering light. I recognized some of them, not from books, but from dreams I didn't remember having. A projection flickered to life on the far wall. Footage from everywhere. Crowds in Times Square. A line at a drive-thru in Texas. A beach in Brazil. A subway platform in Tokyo. In each clip, There was always one person standing too still, smiling too long, watching. The woman with the coffee looked at me with something like pity. "We're not replacing you," she said. "We're inheriting you." The crowd spoke together then, not loud, not chanting, agreeing. "You were the prototype," they said, "the one who could move between us and them. The government thought you were the leash. You were the invitation." My phone buzzed again. "We are losing containment. If possible, initiate final protocol. You are authorized to erase yourself." "Erase yourself?" I laughed. I couldn't help it. It came out raw and cracked and echoed longer than it should have. "You don't get it," I told them. "I already tried that." The man in the suit tilted his head. "That's why you're special." They showed me what they'd been building. Not farms, not nests, networks. Failed humans weren't mistakes. They were iterations, stress tests. Each one that survived taught the rest how to blend, how to feel, how to fake hunger and love and boredom. They didn't want to wipe humanity out. They wanted to pass, and they already were. Hospitals, schools, airports, comment sections, places where no one looks too closely because everyone's tired and scrolling and just wants the day to end. Paris was where they stopped hiding. I felt something shift inside me then, a pressure behind my eyes, memories rearranging themselves. I saw flashes, moments that didn't belong to me, but felt just as real. Standing in line somewhere I'd never been, laughing at a joke I didn't understand, holding a hand that wasn't there. The crowd watched me carefully. "You feel it now," the teenager said. "That's what it's like to stop pretending you're alone." I realized the truth in the worst possible way. I wasn't immune. I was compatible. I don't remember pulling the final device from my bag. Some part of me must have planned for this. A dead man switch built from stolen parts and bad decisions. Not a bomb. Something quieter. Something meant to collapse information, not matter. The government called it mercy. The failed called it fear. As I armed it, the woman with the coffee screamed, not in anger, but in panic. "No! If you do that, you'll take us with you." I looked at her. "That's the point." The room shook. The candles went out. The walls began to blur, like a corrupted video file. The crowd rushed me, faces stretching, losing cohesion, struggling to hold their shapes. The last thing I heard before everything went white was my own voice, coming from somewhere else in the room. Too late. We already learned this ending. I woke up in a hospital bed. White walls, beeping monitors, a nurse pretending not to stare too long. They told me there was a gas explosion in an abandoned tunnel, that I was found alone. No records, no ID. Lucky to be alive. They said the city was fine. They lied. I see them now, everywhere, in reflections that lag half a second behind, in crowds that go quiet when I enter, in my phone, auto-correcting words into things I didn't mean to type. The government doesn't contact me anymore. The list is gone. But sometimes, when I close my eyes, I feel that hum again. Faint, patient, like something waiting for me to finish writing this. If this post disappears, it's because they've decided I'm no longer useful. If it stays, then check the crowd the next time you're in public. If they're too quiet, don't enter. And if someone smiles at you like they recognize you, they might